Welcome back, Boundless viewers around the world. You've arrived at the first deep dive session of the day, and it's about an incredibly important topic. If your business is trying to compete against similar businesses in your area, local search is the marketing strategy that you need to nail before anything else. And teaching us how to do that today is Darren Shaw. Darren is the founder of Whitespark, which specializes in local search software and services, and is one of the most respected and cited companies in the industry. Darren leads research initiatives such as the Local Search Ranking Factors Survey and the Local Search Ecosystem, and he has a real talent for translating this stuff into plain English. Over the next half hour, Darren is going to take you through the local search ranking factors that affect your ability to attract and convert customers from Google, and which of those factors are the most important to focus on. So if you're a marketer or a small business owner, start taking notes. It's my pleasure to welcome to the Boundless 2021 virtual stage, Darren Shaw.
Well, thanks for that nice intro, Ben. It is exciting to be here. Excited to talk to you all about local search. So I'm just going to dive right into my presentation. So I'll just load up my slides here. There we are. We're in business. That's what they call the conference, right? Back in business. All right. So yeah, I'm going to talk about how to attract more customers in your area without spending a dime. Local search is generally free, so that's good news. Real quick about me, I've been doing SEO since 1998. I founded Whitespark in 2005. I speak at a bunch of conferences. Some of you may have heard of MozCon, PubCon, Local U. I do try to do a lot of research and writing about local SEO, and I run the industry standard survey called the Local Search Ranking Factors. That's going to be kind of the bulk of what I talk about today. And my company, Whitespark, we provide software and services to help businesses rank in local search, small, medium, large businesses. We have over 130,000 users of our software. All right, so today I want to talk to you about the results from the latest Local Search Ranking Factors survey. I'll explain what that is, how you can increase conversions from your Google listings, some common local search myths that would be great to dispel, and I'm going to give you a real practical, actionable to-do list. You're not going to really have to take notes just listen in. If you take notes that helps you learn, that's great, but you'll have access to the slides, and I'm also going to give you some checklist stuff at the end. All right, so the Local Search Ranking Factors Survey. This was developed by David Mann back in 2008. And so he ran it for 12 years, and then he passed the reins to me in 2017. I don't know if that math works out, but he passed the reins to me in 2017. And I've been running it the past 3 editions. And so this is a really great survey where we ask the top experts in local search, what do they see driving rankings? And it's pretty detailed. It takes about an hour or 2 for the participants to go through, and we're really collecting as much data. And the benefit is like when you can aggregate all that data, if you have 75+% of people saying this is the number, this is the thing that they're really seeing driving rankings, then it gets surfaced to the top. And so in aggregate, we get really great info, and you get all that info in your own brain. So let's look through the results. First, if you want to see the survey, it's available at whitespark.ca, local-search-ranking-factors. That's where the full publication is. I'm going to touch on the highlights in this presentation today, but I really encourage you to dive in and read everything that's in that survey. There's tons of great information there. All right, so the first question I asked the participants are related to just the general themes, like what do you think drives rankings? To what extent do these themes contribute to rankings? And so this, I'm talking about the local pack rankings. It's really important to know what that is. This is a local pack. And then if you click that little link at the bottom called More Places, it goes to what's called the local finder. So just to sort of anchor you, we're talking about ranking in these places. I will actually touch on the other parts of rankings too. And so these are the 7 thematic areas that I ask the participants to score. And so it's Google My Business, citations, on page, which is like your website, links, reviews, behavioral signals, and personalization. So they kind of give a score to each of those. And based off of whatever they sort of put in as their score, it totals to 100. And then in aggregate, I get to add it all up and I generate this. This is like the iconic local search ranking factors pie chart that gives an indication of how Google is weighting the different signals that they're picking up in the algorithm. And so you'll see GMB here is huge with 33%, GMB related signals taking up the bulk of it. And then reviews, website links taking up, the kind of the rest of it. And this is an interesting chart to look at because while some of the factors are weighted heavily related to GMB, I actually think most of the bulk of your work, GMB, is really great for conversion stuff. You want to continue working on it. But from a ranking perspective, there's only a few things you need to do in there. The bulk of your SEO work is going to come under reviews, website, and links. It's really cool to be able to see how things have changed over time. How has sentiment changed over time in terms of what's important in local search? And so you can actually see this rise of GMB. So Google My Business over the course of the last 3 editions went from 15 to 25 to 33%, taking up more and more of that pie, which is really cool to see that growth and the participants of the survey recognizing that some of these GMB factors are really heavily weighted in the algorithm. And another thing you'll see is the decline of citations. Back in the early days, citations used to be the thing for local SEO. Make sure you have your business listings on all these sites and your NAP is all correct. That is less important now than it used to be. So you'll see this decline where they're just investing less time into citations. So the next thing I asked is about local organic rankings. And so this is different than the local pack and finder stuff. And so I just want to clarify what that is. The local organic rankings appear underneath the main local pack. So this is where you'll do a search for like personal injury lawyer Seattle, and you'll see local Seattle law firms in the results. And so that's what this question is getting at, what's driving that. And so this pie chart, you can see it's heavily skewed towards website signals and links, getting links to your website. And so if you compare the two, like what's driving rankings in the local pack and finder versus what's driving rankings in the local organic, then you will see Google My Business is huge in the pack finder, but it doesn't really influence those blue links down below. I noticed a question here that the 7 areas are right on this chart at the bottom there. And so reviews, website, but you can really see the 2 big blue spikes for what drives rankings down below. So the second question I ask is, what individual factors do you think have the biggest impact on the local pack finder rankings? And so this is this part of the survey that's pretty time consuming. They have this list on the left-hand side that they can just kind of drag factors over to the right-hand side, and then they sort them. There's a list of 122 factors all categorized into these different groups. And so they will move the factors over, sort them, and after they do that, then I get to kind of go through and score them. So anything they put as number 1 gets 20 points, number 2 gets 19 points, etc. And then I can aggregate all that data to identify the individual factors that the survey participants really see driving rankings. And so you can see what they are. And so let's kind of go through those. This is the meat of the survey. It's like, what are the most important things for me to do to rank in local search? And so this is too much to read on one screen. I just wanted to sort of show you how things scale down from top to bottom. But I'm going to go through each of these for you. So the number 1 signal, the number 1 ranking factor, the thing that's going to have the biggest impact on your ability to rank is your primary category in Google My Business. So setting that primary category, and this makes all the sense, because if you're a plumber and you set your primary category to towing company, you're not going to rank for plumber. It's almost as simple as that. And it really has a huge impact. So whatever you define as your primary category really has a big impact. The second, and so, I wanted to talk about this little tool. This is called GMB Spy. This tool is really handy because it allows you to, it's just a Chrome plugin, and it allows you to see the categories of your competitors, all the different categories they've set. So install this little thing, and you can use this as a little competitive analysis tool. It's free, and you can see all the categories of your competitors. Then the second signal that is really important for your rankings, it's a touchy subject because keywords in your Google My Business name will definitely impact your rankings. In fact, it impacts your rankings too much. It's a real problem. And you can see an example of that with this business here. They basically just stuffed every keyword they could think of that they want to rank for in their business name. So it looks kind of funny on Google. Plus, it's actually against Google's guidelines, but it does definitely impact rankings. And so how much does it impact rankings? I wanted to test this, and so I tested it very recently. And so you'll see on the Whitespark listing, we don't really target our city of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. That's where we're located. We're kind of a global company. Most of our business actually in the US, but I wanted to just see what is the impact of adding SEO company Edmonton to our business name in Google My Business. And look at what happened. We actually didn't rank at all for that term. You can see that going across the bottom. And then boom, we shot up to number 20, dipped a little bit to 21 the next day, and then hit number 6. We were ranking in position number 6. So we basically improved our rankings by 94 spots almost overnight. It's kind of phenomenal what an impact that those keywords in the business name had on our ability to rank. This is our local rank tracking software. We have a software system for tracking all this. And not only that, but all these other terms went up too, all these kind of related terms. And so Google can understand the topical relevance of related terms. And so those terms all went through the roof as well. And so keywords in the business name owns the number 2 spot for a reason, and that's because this is huge. But it really creates a problem with spam in Google My Business, and I'll talk a little bit about that later, because you're not allowed to stuff keywords in your business. This was for research purposes for Whitespark. We're taking it out now, but yeah. And so the number 3 thing is proximity to the searcher. So someone's sitting at their computer, they type in coffee shop, they type in dentist, they type in plumber. Google will return results that are in your close proximity, generally in about a 10-mile radius. And this search here exemplifies that. You can see that these 3 businesses are all within 1 kilometer of me. I could basically walk to all of these businesses. And so you kind of get that. Google's smart about it. It knows where you are, and it knows the businesses that are close to you, and it generally tends to return them. And so if you're a business on the other side of town from the person searching, you're probably not going to break into the local pack for that business. It's almost impossible because proximity is a huge signal that impacts these rankings. And most people don't even know that you're going to, like, a business will probably rank really well right in their immediate spot, but as you kind of go a little further out, you see that they rank in different spots. And so this is from software called Local Falcon. Local Falcon will map out your rankings from your point and a grid around it. So you can actually see how do you rank in all of these different points. And it's amazing. You rank in very different spots depending on the position. And then people don't even know that, like, rankings change so much based off of proximity that they're almost different on every street corner. And I wanted to test this as well. This is my route to the grocery store. I kind of drive up like this. And so I did a search for dentists, and every block I ran a search on my phone and took a screenshot of it. So you can see how the rankings change over time. So at this point, I've got these 3 businesses ranking in the pack, same businesses, just up 1 block. I go over here, now businesses are changing. You can actually see how the businesses change as I drive to the grocery store. So it's kind of nuts how impactful proximity is. So when people ask, where do I rank in my city? There's no answer to that question. It's like, where do you rank at this precise geolocation? You go like anywhere else in the city and you're going to rank differently. And so businesses and the local results are completely different depending on where you're searching from. All right, and then the number 4 factor is physical address in the city of search. This is a really great case study from Colin Nielsen at Sterling Sky. And so this business here, you'll see that their address, if you look at the lower arrow there, their address is in Olathe, Kansas. I think KS is Kansas. And but yeah, it's Kansas. And Google thinks they're in Lenexa. And the reason for that is if you look, their actual like that's their pin is just outside of this border that Google draws around Olathe. And so they're just outside of it. They actually think that this business is in Lenexa. And as a result, their rankings in Olathe, which is actually where their address is, they hardly rank at all. So you could see they rank fine at their single position, but they barely rank. It's all red all around. But if you actually search for how do they rank in Lenexa, they rank quite well. And so your address, the actual physical address of the city of search may not be what you've specified in this case, but wherever you're located, that's where Google's going to say, okay, you're relevant in this area. The number 5 category are ranking factor are the additional categories. And this is like your primary category is really critical. And then adding any additional categories you can are super valuable. And this is where that GMB spy tool comes in. It's really valuable to look at your competitors, see what categories they're using, and making sure you're putting those in. Anything that's related to your business, you have to be a little bit careful. There used to be this idea that category dilution. So like if I add a whole bunch of other stuff, I'm going to dilute the ranking potency of my main category. That's not true. It's been disproven in this great case study by Colin Nielsen. Again, love that guy. And so he tested this and he actually saw that by adding additional categories, his rankings generally went up. And so, of course, you're going to cast a much wider net, allow you to rank for more terms. So it's really important to get those primary category set and the additional categories. There is one caveat, one thing you have to watch out for with categories. If you add a whole bunch of really weird categories that are unrelated to your business, or if you're a handyman and you do plumbing, electricians, you do like everything, that actually can be a bit weird because it can confuse Google. Google doesn't know what you are. You can only really be relevant for one area of business. And so I tested this with the Whitespark listing again, and I added a bunch of really bizarre categories that were totally unrelated to our business. And you can actually see our general local pack and finder rankings plummet. You can see that in our rank tracking tool, the rankings plummet. And then when I took the categories out, we went back up again. So you have to be a little bit careful about not putting categories that aren't really related to your business. And another important tip is that Google's actually adding new categories every month. There's always new categories coming up, and there's a huge advantage that if you jump on a new category before one of your competitors, you're like one of the only people in the space that's actually added that category. You're going to get the ranking. So Sterling Sky publishes a great resource for this. It's Google My Business category changes, and so you can look that up on their website, and you can actually just keep an eye on that and see if there's any new categories related to your business coming up. Number 6 ranking factor was the quality and authority of links going to your website. And so this is basically like another website is linking to your website. And we're talking about the quality of these links. And so you could actually get a whole bunch of links from random directories and some spam links and all that kind of stuff, just people pointing links to your website. And so the quality here is what we're talking about that is really important. So in this case, this is a law firm. They have links from Crunchbase. They have links from the University of Alberta. So these links actually are powerful and strong links from authoritative websites versus the sort of low quality directory based links. And so this is the factor. It's like, what are the quality of the links going to your website? So getting some of these really high-powered links can really have a positive impact on your local rankings plus the local organic rankings. Number 7 factor was keywords in reviews. So this is a really interesting thing. So if people are writing reviews for your business on Google and they are mentioning your primary keywords, this definitely has an impact. There are patents that talk about this where Google says that they're mining the content of your reviews to identify what, different relevant terms. What is your business relevant for? And so let's say you're a restaurant and you're really well known for your spring rolls and everybody in the reviews mentions spring rolls. Well, guess what? Someone now searches spring rolls, your city, you're going to come up because the review content has really amplified your relevance for spring rolls. And so getting keywords in the reviews has a huge impact. And my tip on this one is when you ask your customers for a review, and please tell me you're all asking for reviews, when you put that ask out, say, and it would be great if you mentioned the service or the product, just a little hint that will guide them to discuss the specific thing. Or if you're an auto dealership, you'll be like, oh, mention your make and model. So all of these little things, if you can just kind of, you can't really control what someone's going to write, but you can kind of give them hints and point them in the right direction, and that can have a positive impact on your rankings for those terms. And then another big factor is, what is your Google rating? Like if you have like a 3 or lower, you generally get a little bit suppressed in the search results. And so it's really important to make sure that you have a good Google rating. The only way to do that I know of is to just not be a crappy business. Just be a good business, do right by your customers. This rating almost takes care of itself if you're a good business and you're asking for reviews. And then number 9, this is a new factor that didn't exist before. It's this concept of spam fighting. And how does fighting spam in Google improve your rankings? The way it does it is, if you can edit this business that has all of this keyword stuff in their keywords in their business name, and you can remove them from the search results, well, your business goes up. So this actually has been a real growing tactic in local search, where SEO agencies are looking at the results on a regular basis, either weekly or monthly. They're identifying people that are spamming, and they're reporting them to get them taken out. They'll either get the keywords taken out of their business name, so they'll drop off, or they'll report them for being a fake listing or having fake reviews. There's all these different things you can do in spam fighting that can actually remove the businesses that aren't playing by the rules, so that your business that is playing by the rules goes up. And so this is pretty straightforward to do. You can go suggest and edit on a business, change the name, and it'll come up with that. So this is a really valuable way to improve your rankings pretty quickly by just making some changes. Now, there's 85 other potential factors, all sorted in order. I don't have time to go through them all today. I want to get into other areas of it, but please review the resource, and everything else is there. So the next thing I want to talk about is the local organic ranking. So what are the individual things that impact the local organic ranking? So remind you, the blue links underneath the pack, those are local organic. So, okay, great. I've given you like 10 tactics for ranking in the local pack. How do I improve my rankings in that stuff below the pack? Here are the top 15. It's a little bit much to read on one screen, and I just want to summarize it. It really comes down to 2 things. Number 1, adding content and optimizing your website. So it's basically traditional SEO. So you're going to add content to your website, and then you're going to optimize the title tags. You're going to make sure that this is all about relevance of your business, and your website becomes the number 1 thing that Google looks at to understand what your business is about. And so having lots of content, sometimes you see websites as just a bunch of pictures and they don't really say much about themselves, because they're more concerned about design than, they don't want to overwhelm their users with too many words. It's an SEO mistake. If you really want to rank well, you got to give Google the words. And so that's what this is about. It's just making sure that you have all of the words and related words and every other word and all the frequently asked questions and everything you can think about. Just do the full brain dump about your business on your website, on your homepage. Make a page for every service you do and really fill that out. That really has a positive impact. And then optimize the key places like your title tags, your headings, and your body copy. And then the other component of it is links. So you got your website and then links to your website. So 1, this is what you're relevant for. And 2, this is your authority. Does anyone care? Is anyone linking to you? The more people that are mentioning your business on the internet and linking to your website, that tells Google, oh, this is a prominent business. This is an important business, because they're getting lots of mentions and links around the web. And so the quality of links coming in and the quantity of links coming in, that has a big impact as well. And then if you want some advice on how to build links, I've got a great article. It actually was written in 2016, but I'm telling you, it stands the test of time. All of my tactics I mentioned here are still valid today. So here's an article for you to get some ideas. How do I get more links to my website? And this local organic visibility is super important, because if you improve your rankings down in those blue links, the local algorithm that impacts the pack is heavily influenced by those signals as well. So when you improve your rankings down there, you're also definitely improving your ability to rank up there and expand that radius of where you can rank. So it's really valuable to make sure you dial this stuff in as well. All right, question 3 is, what are you I asked the participants, what are you focusing on more this year? More than you did in the past year. This is the new tactics, the new hotness in local search. And so removal of spam listings through spam fighting is a growing thing. I talked about that. It's huge. They're working on getting more links. They're making sure that they've completely filled out their GMB listing, every little field in there. They're working on reviews, and they're focusing on that primary category. Question 3 is, okay, well, if that's what you're really focusing on now, what are you not spending so much time on? This really comes down to citations. I don't know if I explained this earlier, but I should. A citation is a business listing. Typically, it's like a listing on Yellow Pages, or you're listing on Brown Book. There's a whole bunch of these like business directories that list businesses. Yelp is an example. And so people are spending less time making sure that they're listed on hundreds of websites, and also less time making sure that their name, address, and phone number is consistent on all of those. That is having less of an impact on rankings than it used to, and so they're spending less time worrying about that. So question 4 is myth busting. I really wanted to get into like these common things. People often think this will impact my rankings, but in fact, it actually has no impact whatsoever. And so I asked the question, what are some of the things that you think don't impact rankings at all? So this keywords in your Google My Business description is a real common myth. People think that if I put keywords in the description field, that will help me rank. It's almost like I put keywords on my website. But actually, Google doesn't even look at that field for your rankings. And so keywords in the GMB description, keywords in their services, like all these different features in GMB. Stuffing keywords in your various areas of GMB doesn't actually impact your ranking, which is interesting. A lot of people assume that it does, but it doesn't. And so it's good to know that. If you participate in AdWords, it doesn't impact rankings. You know, if you're posting all the time, Google posts, they actually don't impact rankings. They impact conversions, and I'll talk about that. But all of these things don't really impact rankings. And even consistency of citations across the wider web, people are saying that doesn't even impact rankings anymore. And I really want to highlight one other one. This is like, people think, so if you're a plumber, you can actually specify, I service the whole city. These are the zip codes that I will go to customers. And they think that if they specify that in Google My Business, it'll allow them to rank in all of those zip codes. It doesn't. It actually just draws this little map. That's the only thing it does. So if you specify service areas in Google My Business, it does not impact rankings. So now I want to get into this concept of Google My Business conversions. So it's not just about rankings. It's kind of amazing, because if you rank number 1, it doesn't mean someone's going to pick up the phone and call your business. And here's a great example. So the number 1 business for drain cleaning Edmonton, ranking business, is this company all about drain cleaning. And look at their listing. It's at a PO box. They've got one dubious Google review. They've got no photos. This is not a compelling listing to me. Imagine like 2 websites. One website has just basic info. The other website's fully built out. You can read about them, see reviews, look at their photos, understand the business. And so looking on the right-hand side, you see this. This is actually the number 4 ranking business, Mr. Rooter. They've got 628 reviews. They've got related to your search box. This is driven by Google posts, which is another great reason to post. They've got great photos. They've got this Q&A section with like any questions that you might have. And so they've taken the time to really build out their listing, and they are going to get the call. And I know they are, because I actually ran this search, Drain Cleaning Edmonton, when we had a drainage backup in our house. And I ended up calling Mr. Rooter because the Google results speak to me. It's like, this is the company I want to hire. People just do not blindly go to the number 1 ranking. So what can you do to improve conversions on your listing? So the top 3 are all related to reviews. Reviews are huge, of course. Like, look at this listing, 628 reviews, 4.8 rating. I'm immediately drawn to them. But then it's also the content of those reviews. The content of the reviews, people are basically selling your company for you. It has a huge impact. So making sure you're focusing on getting Google reviews, asking every customer, and sending them a link to your Google your Google listing. We have a little free tool on our website called the Google Review Link Generator. You just paste that link into your emails and send it. It's a free tool. Another thing is like, how close are you to the business? That has an impact on conversions. Do you have GMB messaging turned on? Do you have the proper hours set on the listing? Is your listing complete? Do you have a booking feature? Are you doing Google posts? All of these things, basically it comes down to filling out your listing and staying active on it all the time. That has a huge impact on your conversion factors. We have a whole service around it called our Google My Business Management service, where we just do that. We're just managing your listing, keeping it up to date, making it look like that Mr. Rooter listing. Now, I'm going to leave you with 7 basic steps you can do to improve your rankings. So number 1, I've talked about this, that primary category in GMB is critical. You've got to nail that. Whatever your money keyword is, the one that's going to drive the most business for you, make sure that your primary category matches that as closely as possible. Number 2, now add any additional categories. You want to expand your reach as far as you can. So get as many additional categories that are relevant added to your listing. Number 3, ask every customer for a review on Google. You can use that free tool that we have to get the link, the Google review link generator. Number 4, add plenty of keyword-rich content to your website. Don't make the mistake of just having a pretty website that doesn't have any content. You can have the beautiful stuff up above and then just the paragraphs of text underneath. Just break your paragraphs up with headings, and you can make it look good. And you look in your industry, you'll find examples. Making sure that you optimize. Google's actually a pretty dumb robot. It doesn't really read your content. It just wants to see that the keywords that they're looking for are in your title tags, in your headings, and in your website content. That's really valuable. Your keywords have to be in the right place. This is basically basic website optimization. Getting links to your website, making sure that you're getting links. You can add the citations are easy links you could get, but then, outreaching to other people and being like, hey, would you link to our website? You can leave testimonials for other businesses, and in that testimonial, they'll link back to you. All sorts of ways that you can get links. You can reference that post earlier in the presentation. And then number 7, outside of your Google reviews, also ask for reviews on other review sites. So in many industries, there'll be like specific review sites for that industry. Getting reviews on there can have a really positive impact, not only on rankings, it actually does impact rankings, but also on conversions, because people do look at other sites in your industry than Google, and that can drive additional business for you as well. And so once you got those 7 down, that stuff was all relatively basic, except for link building. That's a job. But all of the other stuff, you can knock that stuff out. And then once you've got that done, we actually built a whole checklist tool based off of the local search ranking factors. So this is a free tool. You can just log in, and it basically, you add a business to the tool, and then it gives you this list of all of the ranking factors as a checklist. And so that list of 85 factors, I think we only picked the top 50 to go into the tool, but you can actually go through them, and it's got guided, like do this, then do this. And it's prioritized based off of what was the top in the local search ranking factors. And then the full results are at local search ranking factors. So whitespark.ca, local-search-ranking-factors. You can get all the details from the survey there. And yeah, that's my whole presentation. So hopefully some questions came in. We can talk about them.
Absolutely wonderful stuff, Darren. Thank you so much for the education. I do have a couple questions from the audience that I want to pass your way before we run out of time here. Here's a really practical one. Is WordPress better than other sites for SEO? So does the hosting platform of your website make any difference?
A little bit. It actually had a bigger impact before, but then a lot of the platforms like Squarespace or Wix, they have pulled up their socks and really improved on the SEO side of things. And so you can actually rank a Wix website quite well. You can rank a Squarespace website quite well. You end up with a little bit of like technical stuff. So any like true deep SEOs are gonna be like, oh no, Squarespace, I can't control the minutia of SEO, but you can actually rank everything that I talked about in this presentation. You can totally do on a Squarespace or Wix site. And so I wouldn't stress too much about it. If you prefer Squarespace or Wix or some other website builder, you probably can hit all of these key SEO elements. You're going to get 80 to 90% of the way there, and then the rest is just like the minutia.
Gotcha. Here's another good one. This might be a little peripheral to local search, but this is something we obsess about on the growth team at Nutshell. What is domain ranking or domain authority, and what role does it play in local search ranking, if any?
Yeah, so these are metrics invented by different SEO companies. So there are a few of them that crawl the whole web, and they're trying their very best to mirror how Google understands the web. And so they crawl the web and they understand which web pages are linking to others. And so it's basically a metric that measures how many websites are linking to other websites. And so the higher your domain authority, the higher your domain relevancy or domain rating as it is in Ahrefs. So Moz uses domain authority. Ahrefs uses domain rating. It's based off of their crawl of the web. And so some sites have more authority because they have more links and they have more links from other authoritative sites. And so that it plays in by when I talked earlier about the quality of the links, those metrics are a best guess, which are actually, it's all we have in SEO because we don't have access to Google's actual measurement factors, but it's our best guess. And it generally is somewhat trustworthy as indicating, the quality of the website linking to you. And so you'll use it in that aspect. So if someone says, hey, do you want a link from my website? And their website has a really low domain rating, that means they haven't gotten very many links themselves. And so the link, they're passing less value to you. Does that make sense? It's a bit tricky, a bit complicated. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get in a question of my own. And it sort of goes back to what you were saying about sites linking back to your site. I'm a content marketer by trade, so I'm always advising small businesses on how to get blog content ranking and bringing in a steady flow of website visitors and leads. Does publishing organic content affect local search performance in any way? So does high ranking content affect your site's ability to show up in the local search results box on Google?
It really does, because if we think about the sort of that pie chart at the beginning, content and links play in quite heavily into the overall local search algorithm. So when you are publishing good content, and particularly if that content's good enough to get a few links coming to it in the small business space, it can actually catapult you quite well in both the local organic results and the local pack results, because most businesses aren't producing content that gets links. If you can do it and you can actually put something out there that gets someone linking to your website, it has a very significant impact. So producing great content is good, but I would caution most small businesses, like 90% of them, haven't done a good enough job on their core pages before they start pumping stuff into their blog. So make sure you really improve the content and SEO of your core service pages. Like a lot of businesses just have a single service page, which is just like, these are our services. It's just like 5 bullet points. And it's like, oh my God, that you're not going to rank with that. You've got to make a page for every bullet point, and every page should have, 9,000 words on it, just really talking about what you do. You need to show Google you're relevant for these terms, and you have to do it through content. So get the service pages first. Then if you can do content that is link worthy and share worthy and people are talking about it, then that's great too.
Got it. Just a couple more questions. One person in our audience just wanted a quick recap. What was the tool you referenced to add to emails for review requests or something along those lines?
Yeah, it's on Whitespark. It's our Google Review Link Generator. And I believe we rank #1 for that. So if you just search Google Review Link Generator, you will get access to our tool, and it just creates a quick little link that you can then put into your email. And your email is like, hey, John, it was great working with you. We'd really appreciate your review on Google. Here's a link that will go directly to leave a review. And if you wouldn't mind mentioning the service that we did for you, that would be awesome. Thanks, high five. That's your review email. You send that out to every customer, and you will have a very positive impact on your ranking. Start today, and you just wait and see what happens over the next 3, 6, 12 months.
Great. I have one last question. It comes from our own SEO strategist, Jack Virag. He has a great question here. What are your thoughts on how local businesses like a freelancer or consultant can use Google My Business if they don't have a storefront address?
Yeah, so Google My Business is really valuable when we think back to that conversion side of things. So one, driving reviews to your listing, building out your listing with photos and Q&A, services, products. You can add all that stuff. GMB has added so many great features. And then of course, Google Posts. So you're keeping people up to date. And if you are in an industry that doesn't get a lot of keyword-based search volume, think about your Google listing as your branded search. What do people do when they're looking for your business? They're going to be like, is this business legit? What do I know about this business? They'll Google your business name. So when that, you'll get your Google My Business profile coming up on the right-hand side, which is your place to shine. It's like they might not trust your own website, but they're going to be a little bit more trusting about the Google My Business list. So it's really valuable to have that built out from a branding perspective. And then what else is on that page? What's your Yelp listing look like? Do you have a terrible rating on Glassdoor or something? You need to think about what your branded search looks like. And so you're going to get the keyword ranking benefit. Certainly, if you build it out and you work on all these things that I talked about in the presentation, but you also have to think about that branding benefit. Like, well, look at Whitespark's listing. Whitespark, we don't try to rank locally in our market, and those would be the keyword based terms. But man, we get a lot of people searching Whitespark, and we have to have that listing looking awesome. And so we make sure it does. We've got our products listed there. We've got reviews, a steady stream of reviews coming in. All of that is extremely important. GMB is valuable for pretty much every business in the world.
Darren, we just have a couple minutes left. I wanted to get in one more question because an audience question just came in. It's very related to the last one. It's almost like the flip side of the coin. And they ask, any tips for a business, an on-location business photographer that lives 60 miles between two large metro areas where 99% of my work is? So in other words, they're not working in the client's local search area. They're sort of split between these two large metro areas, and maybe they're located right in the middle. Yeah,
this question always comes up. It's a real struggle for local SEO. Someone's going to type in like wedding photographer or headshot photographer, whatever, into Google, and you can only rank in the local results in that tiny little radius. It's so tiny. It's like, what are you going to rank? You're going to rank in like a 10-mile radius. It's sad, and setting the service areas doesn't help. And so how do you attract business? You really want to spend the time optimizing, because in your 15-mile radius, there's a lot of business to be had in that radius. So certainly work on it. But you're like, oh, I want to get customers from the other side of town. I want to get customers from the suburbs. The way to do it is now to target those terms in what are called the local organic results, so below the pack. And so you should build out neighborhood-based pages. So any of the primary areas, we call it like areas we serve, areas we work in, that kind of a thing. You build out these pages on your website, and then you can get them ranking. And if you go to whitespark.ca into our blog, you could search for how to rank in cities you don't have an address. We have a great blog post that really goes into how to build these pages out, what kind of content you should have on them, how to optimize them. And then you can get those pages ranking in the results below. And a great example is a lawyer we work with. They have one office in Edmonton, but they actually service the whole province, state. And so we build these pages for all these sort of satellite cities that are big enough that we want to target. And I will tell you that over the course of the last 8 years, those pages, even though they don't rank in the pack, they rank in the organic results, they've driven millions of dollars in business for this, because they rank, sometimes they're the #1 listing underneath the pack. And so people don't always go to the pack. They'll go to those pages as well. And so that's how you can actually drive business from those other areas. You won't get them in the pack, but you will get the local organic results.
That's excellent. Well, thanks so much. We're just about out of time here, Darren. Thanks so much for being here. For those watching, remember to visit whitespark.ca if you want to learn more about local search. Thanks to everyone who watched this one. Please stay tuned for how to be the kind of sales leader you'd want to have, featuring Danny Herzberg and Kim Graves of Slack, which will now take you to live, already in progress. Take care, folks.
Thanks for having me. See ya.